Welcome to Why Knowledge Matters. Dr. Rashida and Dr. Chowdhury, it's such a pleasure to have you at this beautiful Saturday night actually here, and to meet you guys really in person. That's the very first time of Why Knowledge Matters where we actually have a session one-on-one, so I'm super happy. Rashida, how are you doing? Let's start, just check in how everything is going.
Right, Yannick, it's really an honor to be here this evening with you and Dr. Manjoor. It's such a pleasure to be with friends. What are friends if they don't get together? And with this lockdown, it's really been difficult. What do you think, Dr. Manjoor?
Well, thank you very much. Well, I cannot be more happier. Yannick is a unique friend of us, is it not, Rashida? So, of course, he's young. This is another, he has his positive side here. But, of course, we are also lucky. When we met him, I feel I am becoming younger. So, yes, this is amazing that we are having this Saturday night at Yannick's Palace, I would say, in northern Quebec, Nemaska. Many people do not know what is Nemaska, but I want to let them know we are in heaven. Yeah. Thank you, Yannick.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we are in such a unique place, really, in the Cree Nation of Nemaska in northern Quebec, and it's such a gift, and I think it's the biggest gift that I have received, in terms of having a community, living in a community like this. It's a huge privilege, and to live and work in such a context is just beautiful. So it's truly a paradise. Cree Nation of Nemaska, it's truly a paradise. How about you? What do you think, Rashida?
Of course, Yannick, this is truly heaven on earth. But I become nostalgic when I hear you saying that, because when I was a kid, my teachers would tell me that Kashmir is the place which is heaven on earth. And if people want to go to heaven, they should visit Kashmir. And that was a lifetime experience for me when I went to Kashmir with my teachers and my classmates. Oh, we had a wonderful time. It was really so beautiful with those beautiful lakes and flowers and those kayaks. I mean, they are like boats you live on the lake, and the boat houses, they house you there. And the cold winds and the beautiful tides, it really makes you rock throughout the night. So my memories went down the lane when you said Nemaska. And how ironical it is that Nemaska also has a beautiful lake. And we are so lucky to have a lake in front of our house, behind our house. And the nature is at its best. We are so close to nature. The people here are so loving because they are also close to nature. There's no pollution. Exactly the way I felt when I went to Kashmir when I was a kid. So it really brings me good feelings, and my memory goes down the lane. So thank you, Yannick, for making us remember that and to cherish those beautiful nostalgic moments of childhood. What do you think, Dr. Manjoor?
Well, thank you, Rashida. I think when you were talking about Kashmir, I also heard. Unfortunately, I was not there yet. I'm sure Yannick and I will be visiting one time.
Oh my
Kashmir,
God,
at least. But when you were saying heaven, Kashmir, of course, I also heard a lot, and this is another. But one thing I think that heaven have different types of heaven. in Islam, they're called 7 heaven, if I remember correctly. So every heaven has his own beauty and own characteristic. I think Nemaska has its own, and it is true. Like, we are in minus 40 degrees centigrade now, minus. But when you go out, I was walking to Yannick's place from my place. It took around 15 minutes. Although it was not easy, but I feel the beauty, the purity. This is authentic. I have been looking for authenticity my whole life, and I'm enjoying every second. So thank you very much. And by the way, I need to, and you probably should say thank you to Yannick, because he's the guy who invited us to come here. Yeah. Thank you.
That is too kind. That is too kind. I think I'm just very lucky that I have so amazing colleagues and really friends and mentors, in my life, as you are, Rashida and Monjour. This is truly a gift, because to me, I can learn every single day, at school, from really one of the best and finest human being, not just in terms of professional development, but also of personal development. So for a guy like me, this is I just got it all, really. For me, it's amazing. So I should actually thank you that you trusted kind of my judgment, and you came up here, which is really amazing.
But to add on to what you said, destiny takes people places. So we were destined to meet. We were destined to be in Namaskar, and 3 of us together. And today when I look outside, it's so dark, and I was wondering, why is it so dark outside? And suddenly, and this room is so well lit and so bright. And I know because of 2 great shining stars here, which make the ambience so bright and luminous. So the bottom line is, teachers are stars forever. There may be doctors, engineers, lawyers, but the only ones who build the foundation of tomorrow are teachers. So I really have a great place for teachers, and this passion grew in me from the time I was a kid. I would admire my teachers. I would look up to them. They were my heroes. They were my real heroes. I don't like the real heroes, which I see and watch in movies. I love the real heroes. And teachers are the real heroes. They know how to build minds. They know how to deal with minds. And to build the foundation is not an easy thing. To build with stones and pillars and cement, it's easy. Because if you don't like a certain architecture, you can demolish it and build it again. But once you've ruined a mind, it takes ages to get that mind back to normal. So I think teachers are playing a very big role, and they need to be saluted. At this note, I think, Yannick, you want to say something?
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to spring into that. It's actually Angela Merkel. She just actually retired as the Chancellor of Germany. And she actually said, the most important people in a country like Germany, for example, well, according to her, are really the teachers, because it's a teacher, right, who form and build the minds of the scientists, of the medical professions, of the nurses, of really any kind of professional. So it's very interesting that you say that. And just to really, you made it nicely, because the topic today is really about the passion of teaching. And so I'm so fortunate to do this session with 2 outstanding human beings. First and foremost, I think this is the most important thing, because ultimately, especially young kids, they sense if someone is authentic. And you, Dr. Monjour, you mentioned how authentic, you were always looking for something authentic in your life, right? And I think every one of us is looking for this authenticity, right? For this genuineness, which you really discover what life really is, and which ultimately is something near to being authentically to yourself, to your peers, and so on. So let's just start with you, Dr. Monjour. What is it that this passion for teaching that you developed over the years?
Oh, thank you.
What is it? Because you are also, and the same for Rashida, you are two individuals that I see all the time energetic, no matter what. You're always positive. It's so unique. And just to keep this up over like 20 years or so, and even more, it's truly something that needs to be mentioned, which is very unique. We don't see this very often.
Thank you, Yannick. So you use the word authenticity. Let me tell you why I feel the authenticity is the most important part for any human being. You see, we all are human beings. It's a child. After as soon as we were born, our goal to know the unknown, to see the unseen, to conquer the unconquered. This is the most important. Every child would ask, why sky is blue? What is this? I remember my daughter used to ask me those questions. Unfortunately, those days I am not as kind as now, because it's okay, what kind of question it is. But this is natural. And the passion for education I got because it is the best opportunity, best gift to become a teacher, because you are having constant way of learning. So I don't feel myself I'm a teacher. I'm a student, a lifelong student, and this is what most important passion for me. It is an absolute gift, because I'm a teacher. I'm teaching, but at the same time I'm learning. I'm learning from my student from all the time. And as Dr. Rashida mentioned, that my dream also came to become a teacher, because when I saw my teachers are giving, they're giving more than taking. And I also like this. I enjoy if there's a way that I give. I don't care about taking. This is what most important part for me. So therefore, the passion about education is about learning and making this world a better place is only possible by giving our younger generation the true, authentic reason of why they are on this earth. So this is where I am.
This is
Rashida,
really super fascinating. So Rashida, what's your take?
Yeah, to add on to what Dr. Manjur says, I truly agree to him, but I have one thing to add on, is that today's teachers are not when we were young, not similar to those. I'll tell you one example of that. When we were kids, as Dr. Manju said, they were ever giving. But in those days, it was like one-sided. We treated them heroes. We didn't have the guts to participate and engage ourselves in learning. The teacher just lectured or told us, filled our pails and filled our minds with whatever knowledge they had. We didn't have a time to contest and put our opinions across. It was always one-sided. Whatever we were told, we thought that was gospel, that was the truth, and that is what we need to take. We did not have a chance to debate or contest. I fully agree why the teachers of that time were that nature, because Aristotle, when he was there, he had to fight with the church. Because when they said when they said it was round, he had to say that it is flat at the edges. But they did not agree because the church was dominating. And they were considered to be the best, or that they were supposed to present facts. Scientists were not accepted, or anybody who would try to prove or put their point across were not accepted. So therefore, I think the teachers of when we were young, they played that role because they knew they had to only give us and tell us the best of the best, give us the knowledge, give us the values, impart whatever they have learned from their teachers. It was a cycle of events and cycle of things passed on from generation to generation. But today, to be the teachers of today, to follow the trend, we have to be facilitators. A teacher is considered to be a best teacher who facilitates learning, who creates a learning atmosphere for students to put their opinions. They have a right to contest and to debate. And this is what I like about today's learning. It's more real today. It's not just theory in books, what we learned, but today it's all practical. You apply knowledge today. In the days gone by, we only understood knowledge for theory. And therefore many things we forgot also because we couldn't apply. But today, we apply to real situations, life situations, and then that knowledge which you learn to apply, you can never forget. So I think, though the world has taken one step forward, teachers have become upgraded in their approaches and in their styles of teaching. Today's education is real education. Saying that, I'm not defeating what our teachers taught us. They were stalwarts in their own way. And I would salute them whenever. But what I'm trying to say is what today's world expects us, expectations are different today. Learning outcomes are different today. And we have to match that. So I think this is the best way to move forward with the demands of today and to match. So in spite of being passionate teachers, as Dr. Manjur said, we should be passionate learners. And learning never ends. We learn all the time from nature, from students, from books, from our peers. Every day, every moment is learning. Learning never ends. And I think that's the way to move forward.
Yeah, that was also something that, Paulo Coelho said, with the banking system, right? So just you had to basically remember facts, and it's very different. But still, if you look at, you mentioned Aristotle, right? But actually back then, it was already like this dialectical learning that actually Socrates, with his Socratic dialogue actually forged, right? To really bring this knowledge that apparently students already had, basically in the soul, innate, to bring it to the very fore. So it's very interesting. And today, of course, it's a very different context. So please, Manjur, please add.
Well, you just already mentioned about Socrates. That when I was listening to Dr. Rashida and about all this Aristotle she was talking about, I think Socrates, in fact, did the same thing that Dr. Rashida is saying right now. It is student-centered education. That was not in our time, many years back, because the focus is student. Teacher is a facilitator. And Socrates did, according to my understanding, the same thing. He was very interested about listening. What he said, I know only one thing, that I know nothing. Therefore, a teacher, when he's acknowledging that I know everything, you are my student. No, this is not. And therefore, and it is good that the humanity or this world is acknowledging this. But of course, 21st century it needs lots of change of education. Even we are seeing some changes, but these changes are not enough yet. Because the necessity, the requirements, everything has been so dramatically, every minute are changing. Therefore, accordingly, we need to make the adjustment. This is for sure. So, at the same time, Dr. Rashida says that how we see the difference between our time and right now. This is fascinating because I think 21st century's education, as I talked about this before, Daniel Pink, in his book he has been talking about that the the word job, so-called job, this has been also, it is becoming different right now. We cannot expect the way how job searching thing was happening and the requirements for job, it itself has been changing. It is not enough just to have good academic credentials. You have to have different collaboration, creativity, critical thinking, and of course, we need to think about global world, because we are no more as a nation somewhere we are sitting. We should think about multicultural, perspective. Our children are not only should be unilingual, they have to have multilingual. They need to be multilingualistic. So therefore, I believe that as a passionate teacher, we need to also look for the learners should be also passionate. So therefore, this environment, that environment need to be done, need to made. Therefore, I think we are lucky that you are asking us this question, and people should know about this. And there are so much challenges also human beings are having, as we know right now, even now with COVID. What about climate change? Our children need to know about this, Of course, children of the Greta Thunberg and the younger kids, children, they're getting out. But I almost want to say to all children, get out, guys, and do something for your own future. This is your life.
One of the questions, and as you mentioned it, but I think one of the passions of teaching really comes because of the fact that we are forced to learn constantly because of the information age that we are now in, and just to remember, in fact, just doesn't hold anymore because there are just simply too many. And so you have to be able to actually make sense and contextualize these information, right, which becomes huge. And so I think, just to go back to the topic, like, is this part why you're so passionate of learning? Because it's really learning and teaching and learning is really about life. It's really about living. Living is learning, and vice versa, in my view. What do you think, Rashida? In terms of the passion of teaching.
So I agree to what you say to a great extent, but I would always put forth my views that we have become passionate teachers because we've been in this profession for more than a decade. We've been all around the world. We've seen students from in different parts of the globe, and we've seen what challenges they had and how they could overcome those challenges. So now we understand, in today's world, we need to have SMART goals. And even in our teaching approach, we should be smart, we should be specific, it should be measurable, it should be attainable, we should be realistic, and we should be tangible. And we've learned this with our vast experience and expertise, that Rome was not built in a day. Similarly, we can't build human minds or win over our students. Even at Nemesca, when we joined initially, it took time for us to understand our student needs. Because what is the bottom line? Why are we passionate teachers, and how are we going to build a community of good learners? We are judged from our students' outcome. If the students' learning is done well, then we are judged as good teachers. We don't see the path in between, why we got stuck, what are the hurdles which came across. The end goal is always measured. So if we have a rough start, but we stabilize after some time and we understand our needs of students, what they really need, and get them engaged into the process of learning, the end is always a success. And student success is why we are all here. So I think we enjoy and cherish the moment when we see the students succeeding. And I believe that if a student needs to succeed, all the stakeholders are involved. A teacher alone cannot do magic. The stakeholders are the parents, the management, the leadership, the teachers. We all form a team together, and teamwork is the key to success. So if the entire team works together, collaborates together, then only we can see the true outcome and the true fruits of hard work. Because as you always remember, we always hear, hard work is the key to success. I think today the version is teamwork is the key to success.
Beautifully said. And I think I just want to actually pick this up, because what you're basically saying is, the passion of teaching really also comes due to the fact that it is really a teamwork where the whole community is basically involved.
Exactly.
Teaching really is not just, the student and the teacher, but it's really about connection. It's about the community. And I think that's why you, and, I know you, fairly well as you, Dr. Monjour. I think that's one of the driving forces, and I think one of the critical variable in my view why you're so passionate, because you see it as something, a project of building not just the individual, but really the community, really like the whole social network that is all caught up with.
And to add on to what Dr. Monjour said, that about being global today is important. To be multicultural, multilinguistic is important. I fully agree with you. But we first light a candle in our house, then we light the street. So first we need to focus on our local school where we work, then move on to the community, and then move on to the world. So we have to build world connections, but first we need to have strong connections with our students. They need to trust us. The day they believe in us and they trust us that we are there for them, they will be ready to do what we say, and they'll be ready to learn, because they understand then that we are here to help them to have a wonderful future. So I think right now, at this moment, our challenge is to build that trust in them. And if surveys show that most of the students are not yet able to build a good trust in teachers. So I think we need to find a way to build that trust, to build that respect for ourselves and for them, that yes, they know that we are knowledgeable. We have come here to build their future. We are not here to ruin or mar their future. The day they have trust in us and the day we bring a smile on their face, build a bond with them, build a connection with them, I think we are only running and chasing to complete our syllabus. We are forgetting that we are dealing with human minds. Well-being of students is equally important before we bring them on an academic track. So first, we see whether they are happy, build a happy environment, bring a smile. Of course, we have to draw a line. We have to be flexible. When it's time to scold, like there is a saying, spare the rod and spoil the child. Today, the rod is out. We can't be tough with our children. But yes, just seeing with our body language, they would know if teachers are upset, and they would do their work, because they should first trust in order to learn. And once we establish that beautiful, happy environment, especially in Nemaska, students would love to come to school. They would never want to go away. They would love to be with their teachers. They would love to learn and move forward. And the day is not far, because I know every teacher here has come for a purpose and an objective to make the school and the students smarter and better and make this community the best. So make the good better and the better best.
That's beautiful. So I really hear two things, which is critical. First and foremost, it's an inside-out approach. And it really reminds me basically what always Gandhi also said. You have to be the change that you want to see in the world, right? And that starts with the teacher, and then ultimately it trickles down to students. And secondly, it's really trust and connection to really build it. I think that's really key, and that really also holds our society together, right? Yeah. Without trust, you don't go in a car or with someone else, because you can crash or whatever. So Dr. Mansoor, what do you have to add?
Thank you very much. This is a very important point, Dr. Rashida, and you mentioned, so one of the things she just mentioned about the purpose. I did talk about the purpose of education. One of the passion of my coming to this field of education, I was always asking myself, why education? Why you go to school? And absolutely, this is the question. And I would probably would not agree totally with Dr. Rashida. The word equally important, but I think it is even the most important, the well-being of the kids, our children. The why they're coming to school. It is not because they want to learn math, because they want to learn language. It is because, as Socrates says, purifying your soul. We need to work inside the soul of our children. This is where the missing component, unfortunately, it started many, many, many years back. And I hope, finally, in 21st century, when people do not know where they are going, we are going another planet for sure. But I think human beings need to be successful of understanding the purpose of education is most importantly to purifying humans' mind. And then eventually, once you have purified your mind, kids will be love to learn. Because this is actually, I talk about the authenticity, because this is the question why it is. And eventually, if you want to learn why, you need to learn mathematics, you need to learn language, you need to communicate. So therefore, I think my passion came from there. And other thing I also want to add, Dr.
But
Rashida.
Just quickly, please walk us a little bit through where it comes from, because you told me it was really a teacher that inspired you, and that's why you ultimately you started basically at the MIT in Russia.
Yeah.
At Moscow Power
Engineering
Institute, exactly. And you did also your Ph.D. there.
Yeah.
And so just give us a quickly, insight, what the teacher back then in your home country, Bangladesh, did for you in order to really invoke this passion of math in you.
I'm telling you, this is very interesting. And Dr. Rashida's background is, although she has a Ph.D. in English, but she is also her science background. And Pythagoras theorem, Pythagoras, one of the things in grade 8, I cannot be more happy. When I talk about it, I become emotional, When he just draw, and I still remember exactly, it's more than 40 years back, that the right triangle. And he showed that how the relationship between three sides and how x squared plus b squared equal to c squared. Kids just memorize this, but I asked them why x squared plus b squared equal to c squared. And my teacher, Kamini Mohan Singh, his name, unfortunately he passed away. When he explained, I still see that the equality, the question of equality, how a squared plus b squared equal to c squared, how these squares on the hypotenuse sitting down, he draws this square, and he draws the other square on the base and the perpendicular, and the three square, and he showed, and that gives me the idea that square, all sides are equal. And this is giving us the question of equality. This is the philosophy, by the way. The philosophy of how to teach our children that we were born, we human beings, God has sent us equally. We need to respect each other and we need to purify our soul. So that was one of the foundation of my love of math,
Yeah, and that's beautiful. I can really sense it, the passion for teaching and learning that you have, and Dr. Rashida. And now I really want to ask you, Dr. Rashida, because you're a very similar background. You did so many degrees in science, in administration, in English literature. You basically did all of it. And you also have a teaching degree. And you are just continue learning all the time. And I don't live very far away from you. And I'm also very blessed that I can enjoy your outstanding food, But what I really find so fascinating is also your drive. And you are still, even though you look like you're in your 30s, but you are much older. You're already like, I don't say your age, but you are, but you know what? You are the one that has the most energy. You're still so driven. You're still having a big smile when you teach, no matter what. So where does it come from, and where did you discover your passion for learning? And also, how did you choose when you were young that you want to do first, a degree in science, and then you switch? So walk us a little bit through your path, and then ultimately teaching,
Yeah, great. So thank you, Yannick, for again taking me down memory lane. But it's, I got this passion, as I told you. I would look up to teachers and say, wow, what a great job they are doing. And my passion towards science was not originally from me. My mother always dreamt that I would be a successful doctor. And she would always share her dream that I should do medicine. But I was against it because I couldn't see blood. I couldn't see anyone in physical pain. I was like very sensitive towards these things. But she was very, very adamant that I go and this is what I always thought about my own children, that I shouldn't put pressure with my dreams on them. I allowed them to do what they wanted. And that's why I see that they are very successful in their field. But since my mother thought that I would be great doing medicine, just to fulfill her goal and fulfill her dream, I did study Bachelor of Science. And every year she would remind me that, I have to go to study medicine. She also made me that during that time in India we had to write the entrance exam to get into a medical college. So I also successfully passed that exam, and she was so happy that I'm going to join the medicine course. And then my first year, she stitched a nice lab coat for me, and she was so happy looking at me. And she said, after 4 years, I'll see you as a full-fledged doctor. And I could see tears, and I was happy that she was happy, but I was not happy from inside. I knew I was doing something which I was not keen on. And I went the first day to the medical college, and there in India, when we dissect, we have to do it on real human bodies, like dead bodies. And when we were taking to the lab to study the human body, I collapsed. I fell unconscious and I just couldn't take it anymore. And then when I was told that, she's not the person to pursue this course because she's very, very... I had a phobia then to go towards that college. So then I thought, then my mother finally gave up and said, I don't want to lose you. If just to fulfill my dream, tell me, what do you want to do? So I jumped with joy and I said, I want to do English literature. So she said, okay, go for it. And then I was passionate about it. Since I was a kid, I would write poems and I would dream of Shakespeare. And, I was so crazy about English literature. So I finally fulfilled my own dream then and finished my master's in English literature. And of course, that was why I switched over to English language, because that was my original dream, and I finally fulfilled that dream. Now, coming to the purpose of teaching and why I was so passionate about going into this field was, as soon as I finished my graduation, I applied for a job, and when I was interviewed for a teaching position, I think that's my only weapon. I'm a good communicator, and I think I learned this skill from my mother, because to be a good businessman, you need to communicate your ideas and to sell yourself and to sell your things.
Really an outstanding communicator, right?
So even at the interview, which happened for 45 minutes, my first interview as a teacher, when I went there to be interviewed, they interviewed me for 45 minutes, and they told me that you'll have to wait till the results are announced. And I was so eager to know the results. And then finally I was called inside after all the applicants, they had faced the interview, and they told me that we decided that instead of hiring you as a teacher, we are hiring you as the principal of the school. So that is my greatest shock of my life, that I went to become a teacher, and without even having the experience. I always thought principal, because my principal had heavy glasses and he had gray hair and he was so tough. When he would walk in the corridors, I would shiver. I always thought that principals are, old and elderly, and they can command and demand. But when they saw a principal figure in me, I was surprised, and I wanted to prove myself. So yes, my journey, actually I didn't start teaching, but to be a principal, you need to be a good listener. You need to be a good teacher as well. You need to be a role model. So I also taught the highest grade in that school, English language and literature, and I was the principal of the school. And yes, my journey started, and I started being so passionate about my job, because it was a dream come true for me. And I keep telling this, success is a journey, not a destination. And that journey took me places, proved myself. Of course, sometimes there were rough times. Sometimes it was not smooth to deal with different learners with different needs. But finally, I'm in Namaskar, and thank you, Yannick. It's all because of you. You convinced us to come here, and today we have nothing to regret, but everything we see is just to appreciate. And I'm sure we'll make this school and the community the greatest and the best one day. What do you think, Dr. Manjoor?
Well, I think you have said everything what I should say. I think I mentioned about my passion, right? I did exactly. I want to share my feelings with my fellow learners, I would say. Students and fellow learners. That is what I thought about. And I have chosen math because for me, math is not number, and it's not the boring thing. This is not. Math for me is a philosophy. Math for me is the science. Everything. Math is the language of nature. It says that math is the language of nature. What I mean by this, any problem human being want to solve, there is math involved there. And of course, these days, is to see everything we to see. For example, why we want to see the graph is having COVID-19. There will be an announcement, and there is a channel. The scientists are going to give us the update. What they do? They basically do mathematical model. So mathematical model is not only is about number. It is so many things. There's psychology. There is the demography. There is many things are involved with this. So therefore, I have chosen this wonderful path that I'll be involving myself, that I will be sharing with my fellow learners, and I will be learning from there. I will be gaining from this. And one of the best thing about math, I can tell you, I know Dr. Rashid, I do not know if you have done calculus. So I remember one of the toughest area you start in calculus first is called limit. So when you are doing limit, it's very interesting. It is something you play with zero. So you say x tends to 0, but it never touched 0. It goes close to 0. It's like lovers, two lovers. The boy wants to go close to the girls, but cannot touch girls, So this is same as x tends to 0, but never x touches 0. So therefore, you see why math is so beautiful. It is, you can see the real connection of human life. You can model it. You could assimilate it the way how our life is designed. So therefore, my passion is that I can share the significance of math, how math can be a philosophy. Math is the language of science, by the way. Physics, for example, these days, without physics, we could not have this communication that you and I are having right now. This is because of the contribution of physics. But physics is based on math. And 21st century, by the way, this century is the century of biology. The biology, again, you see that there is no way to understand the DNA, the inside to go all there, but it's everything based on math. So therefore, my passion is, so how to make our younger generation to be fascinating about math. And I know people have a myth or perception the math is boring, math is difficult. Well, it would not be difficult if we see it that it is a philosophy. It is like literature, we can make it. So therefore, I'm so passionate about math, and I'm passionate about being involved with our younger generation so that they will be enjoying life through understanding the nature.
Beautiful. This was such a beautiful end. And thank you so much, Dr. Rashida Suleman and Dr. Manjur Chowdhury, for being on the show and really talking about your passion that I can really feel. It's really tangible. It's so fascinating. And I'm so grateful for having you on the show.
Thank you.
Yeah. We don't want to end this session without thanking you, Yannick, for actually getting it organized and talking about our passion for teaching. Because it's been years, no one has ever asked us this question. And for you to bring it to the surface is like touching the tip of the iceberg. So you brought in all our emotions, and we went deep down the iceberg to see where we are and where we went and what are we going to do today. And thank you, Yannick. Without you, it would not have been possible. And thank you, Dr. Manjur, for contributing your beautiful ideas as well. Thank you. It was a very lively and a very informative session. I enjoyed it. I'm sure you enjoyed it too, Yannick.
Oh yeah, I mean, to be honest, we could go on and on and on, but it's just already a little bit late actually, and we are getting tired because we had a lot of work to do this week, and so But I can't wait to have you back sometime soon, and really to further this conversation, because it really never stops. And listening to you is really quite something special. Thank you so much.
For now, have a wonderful evening, and thank you once again for having us on your show this evening. Thank you.
Dr. Rashida Suleman and Dr. Manzoor Chowdhury.